morning, America. My name is Taylor Miller, and we have had a recent outbreak of malaria. I have here with me 3 health professionals, Stephanie Masters, Megan Smith, and Akea Walker. They have provided a brief video for us about malaria. Hit it, Jeff.
Malaria is a life-threatening disease caused by parasites transmitted through the bites of infected female Anopheles mosquitoes. In 2015, 95 countries and territories had ongoing malaria transmission. According to World Health Organization estimates released in December 2015, there were 214 million cases of malaria in 2015 and 438,000 deaths. Sub-Saharan Africa continues to carry a disproportionately high share of the global malaria burden. In 2015, the region was home to 88% of malaria cases and 90% of malaria deaths. In areas with high transmission of malaria, children under 5 are particularly susceptible to infection, illness, and death. More than 2/3, 70%, of all malaria deaths occur in this age group. Vector control is the main way to prevent and reduce malaria transmission. If coverage of vector control interventions with a specific area is high enough, then a measure of protection will be conferred across the community.
All right, America, we're back. We have environmental specialist Megan Smith with us here. Thank you for coming. And you're going to tell us a little bit about the environmental factors.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a cohort study published in 2017 where researchers were able to identify the optimal environment for the Anopheles mosquitoes to thrive. And so it was in French New Guinea, and they found 5 variables that were significantly associated with malaria transmission. And the variables were the primary forest, the length of river banks and shallow water, high vegetation, bare soil, and then the number of homes that populated the area.
And you also said that climate change plays a huge role?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was another epidemiological study that was conducted in Papua New Guinea that explored the global climate variability that impacted the incidence of malaria. And so it was conducted using monthly data from malaria cases that dated from 1996 to 2008, as well as ocean climate data from 1981 to 2010. And so they controlled for seasonal variability of temperature, rainfall, humidity to make sure that they had the most accurate results. And so the precipitation and temperature conditions were linked to ocean atmosphere phenomena like the El Nino Southern Oscillation, and they have an indirect impact on malaria transmission in other parts of the world. And so the study showed that global climate was actually a little bit more impactful on the transmission of malaria than just like the local weather patterns. And so that it also found that levels of precipitation and malaria varied by region. This makes sense because the climatic weather patterns vary.
So we have gotten a lot of information, America. What are you planning to do with this information?
Yeah, so I think that understanding the overall impact of climate global change can really help us come up with a preventative and strategic plan for where we want to focus our malaria fighting efforts.
Okay. And next up, we're going to have Akea Walker, a public health officer as well as a health educator. And previously we had Megan kind of talk about a brief overview of preventative strategies, and Akea is going to go more in depth with those. Akea, could you tell us what are some signs and symptoms?
So the signs and symptoms usually characterized by malaria infection include, but are not limited to, fever, chills, headache, nausea and vomiting, muscle pain and fatigue, sweating, chest or abdominal pains, and coughing. And those who have malaria experience cycles of malaria attacks, and these attacks usually start with shivering and chills, followed by high fever, followed by sweating, and then a return to normal temperature. And these distinguishing signs and symptoms usually begin within a few weeks after being bitten by an infected mosquito. Although it is understood that some types of malaria parasites can stay dormant in an individual's body for up to a year.
Okay. And you said that you were going to provide us with some preventative strategies. Could you go over those?
Yeah, so the 3 primary preventative strategies are taking anti-malarial medication to kill the parasite and prevent the disease, and keeping mosquitoes from biting you, especially at night, and sleeping under insecticide-treating bed nets, using insect repellent, and wearing long-sleeve clothing if outdoors at night.
Okay, thank you so much. And could you kind of conclude your information for us?
Yeah, so even though the cases of malaria around the world have decreased in the recent years, the parasite is quickly becoming resistant to the antibiotics that are being used for its prevention and treatment. So furthermore, the mosquito itself is becoming resistant to the sprays and treated nets these public health officials are using to prevent the transmission to humans.
Okay, and we have here Stephanie Masters, who is an epidemiologist. Could you tell us some descriptive epidemiology about malaria, like who's at risk and what areas?
Yeah, the most areas that are more at risk are your sub-Saharan regions in Africa and India also, and even certain countries in South America and even Pacific Asia also are affected.
Mm-hmm. And what type of people?
The type of people that are more vulnerable to this disease are people that have little to no immunity against the disease. This includes children who also have not developed any partial immunity, pregnant women whose immunity is decreased by pregnancy, especially during their first pregnancy and their second, travelers or migrants coming from areas with little or no immunity, children younger than the age of 5, and individuals that have HIV or AIDS.
Okay. Thank you for letting us know about this vulnerable populations. Thank you for joining us, America, and we would like to leave you with
Bug off, malaria!